that's how I got into it. But, oh, can customers get leftover grounds? Oh, why is it so expensive? I'm just gonna read all these. These are such good questions. Why is coffee so expensive? Coffee shops, when coffee on its own is not expensive. So there's a different gradients of the different tiers of coffee. You can find a little bit of the history of coffee is that there are mainly two organic strains of coffee. One is called Arabica, which you might be familiar with, and the other one is Robusta, was the more common name for the two different strains. Robusta coffee is less susceptible to disease because coffee needs very particular climates and areas in which to grow. So Robusta is more hardy of a plant and has a lot more different variations of varietals within Robusta. So it typically is a lot cheaper, and it can be grown at lower altitudes, and it's just a lot easier to produce. So coffee that's Robusta or lower grade coffee is actually quite cheap. You can use equipment like they use in the Midwest, you know, when farming, to like handpick, instead of handpicking from the trees, you're able to like use equipment to like strip the trees of their cherries and produce it very cheaply. If you want to get into specialty coffee though, everything gets really, really expensive really quickly. So the farmers themselves live really high up in the mountains, are growing only Arabica plants of very, very sensitive strains that are open to disease. And there's something right now that I was reading, Kona coffee, which is really prized for being very expensive. It's grown in the US, so also labor costs are, you know, also tied into why it's expensive. But they never had like a coffee disease issue there. But coffee rust, which is what is known, it turns the leaves of the coffee tree rusty, has just been found in Kona and in Hawaii. So that means that's going to spread and actually kind of make that coffee even more difficult to produce, and actually probably drive up the price, just because everyone's going to be producing less coffee overall. So once you get into kind of that tier, things get pricey from even just like a green coffee purchasing level. And because what we're doing, trying to really support the farmer, really paying a high price to make sure that the money that we're spending is going directly back to the farmers in these various origins that we're getting it from, things get very pricey. So even just getting the coffee in is expensive. And then because coffee is cool, and I don't know if you've noticed, but you know, there's a lot of coffee shops popping up. It's equipment-wise, things are just getting, like, I've watched in my like sum of 7 years of doing this, just prices of grinders and espresso machines just go up because people will pay them now. People will pay these prices because people want to open coffee shops. So it's been really interesting to also watch kind of this ballooning effect within the industry, just also driving the prices. And there's, you know, in coffee literature, because you can, you know, sign up for daily coffee news. In the daily coffee news that I read, you know, it talks about like, at what point is this going to collapse, you know? But this is the question with like breweries opening up and everything that's like really popular right now. It's like, at what point does that fall in on itself and there's just too many of the same thing, or it starts like pricing people out who want to get into the industry because things just become really inaccessible. So the way that we do it is pricey for that reason. We also make everything in-house. Our flavoring syrups are like all handmade, you know, we buy like really high-end ingredients because, yeah, I'm a purist at heart, I think. I don't know, I like to know where all the ingredients come from, and I really care about what's going into my body, and even if people don't care about it when they're coming to get a drink, I just want them to have a good experience and be able to taste kind of the fullness that's in that. And I kind of got a little bit, I feel like that was like really zen, like talk about pure ingredients, but yeah, but it all drives the prices for us, but yeah. So can customers get leftover grounds for gardening? Yeah, actually. So if anybody wants them, we have a ton. We only ever compost our grounds, and actually we take all of our 5-gallon buckets full of grounds to a hop farm that's in Mechanicsburg, because they will take all of our coffee grounds, which is great because we produce a lot of them. But if you want some for your garden, let me know, email me. I also have a friend who even helped by making local deliveries in the area because she's already offered for a small fee. So if you even want coffee grounds delivered to you, that's a possibility. Also, if you want burlap bags, which I think I have one here, but burlap bags, which is what roasted or raw coffee comes in, but they're good for lining garden planters. Have a bunch of those too that I can give you for free. So if you want coffee grounds or burlap bags, let me know, because these are good things to reuse, and I want people to reuse them. I've never had to throw this stuff out, and I hope I never will. But finding homes for it definitely takes a lot of energy. But yeah. Okay, I think was that all the questions?
I think so. I got kicked out of the meeting and got back in. So I lost the chat function there, but I think that was what I was seeing there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, super cool. I was like, did we lose our moderator? This is
Hey,
no, but
at least you all noticed. Thank you for not being like my class and just staying black. Everyone seemed maybe you noticed. Okay.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I had already really gone into it, and I don't want to take up all your time. I could talk about coffee all day. It's really easy for me to just continue to prattle on about all of this because I find it a really, really fascinating subject. And I think I'm already, I guess, approaching my 45 minutes, which is like way too easy to fill. So if you want to hear, I can run you through, I had a whole portion on like how, like the process of coffee from start to finish, but I almost kind of gave you, I feel like, was able to give you like the story in bits and pieces throughout all the questions. But does anyone have, I guess, any specific questions, or if they would like to hear the process from start to finish, what it goes through?
I feel like maybe a good another 10 minutes of overviewing the process. And I personally would love to see your martini. I don't know about anyone else, but that was kind of a highlight for me as well. Not have the ingredients other than the coffee, but certainly I think an overview of the process, because yeah, you touched on it, but that would be good to kind of sum it all up there if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, sure. So I think, and the special thing about coffee, and actually I think most things that we love in this world, is it's grown in very specific places. So I had sort of mentioned that before, as coffee likes higher altitudes. It's a tree, so it's kind of a shrub tree. It likes higher altitudes with like warm, but not too warm days, close to the sun, but not too close to the sun. It likes very particular conditions. So for that reason, and for the fact that it can flower and produce a couple times of the year, it's grown only in areas between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So you get like all the areas that are warm and have sun year round and have mountainous areas are able to produce some form of coffee. There's newer areas as climate change begins to occur. There's newer areas that are opening up. In like China is starting to produce a lot of coffee in their regions that are like a little bit more south facing. So there's new areas that are kind of opening up to growing coffee, which is kind of interesting. So you never know, maybe if things continue in the direction they go, we'll be able to someday produce coffee up here. So coffee is grown in that area, and I had mentioned the 2 strains of coffee. So it's this beautiful cherry. I actually have a book. You can see it's this beautiful little cherry that is grown on a tree. And before it's a cherry, it flowers in this beautiful, beautiful way. I don't have a picture of that. And what I learned, I've only ever gone to our direct trade partner in Colombia. But I was finally there after years of being in the coffee industry. And the coffee flower itself is like the most beautiful, beautiful smelling flower you will ever smell in your entire life. I hope everyone has the ability to experience a coffee plant, because it is seriously a gorgeous plant in itself. So the flowers themselves are also beautiful. And they're difficult to pollinate, of course, but then they produce the beautiful cherry that then it needs to be hand-picked. If you're in specialty coffee, because you can only pick the ripe ones. As you'll see in this picture, there's a bunch of, as cherries do, there's a bunch of different ripening times. So you have to go along and, pick the same tree multiple times. It's very labor intensive. So then you bring it down these very mountainous regions, because it likes higher altitudes for that, for the perfect growing conditions. You bring it down the mountain to either a washing station or a drying station. Some of these sometimes are on particular farms. They have their own stations, or sometimes you have to take it to like the nearest hub station, which can be a really arduous process for farmers trying to navigate their mountainous region. But you bring it down off the mountain, and then you go into the processing. Either immediately, if you're doing a wash process, you don't want the cherry to stay on there really long, because you're going to have a weird kind of fermentation that happens, because there's a lot of sugar in that bean. So you have to either decide if you're washing it immediately to remove the cherry, or if you're letting it dry out in the sun and then getting it to a place where it's not all clumped together so it can get that sunlight and start to dry. There's a bunch of then processes in between to remove the cherries. If you've ever heard of honey processed, black honey processed, the newest one is actually kind of a form of fermentation, which is anaerobic fermentation, and that is like very controlled fermenting of the coffee beans. But then you have to remove, in some variety, you have to remove this cherry. Then regardless of how you remove it, it does go into a drying bed until it dries and the moisture level drops to the point that it's stable. So the bean itself is still really, or the pit is still really has a lot of moisture in it. So then you need to dry it for a number of days in perfect conditions, turning it over. And then there's a layer of parchment, which is kind of it's known as parchment actually. There's a layer of like, there's lots of layers to things that are like good in life, right? There's gotta be complexity in order to get to that like nugget that we all enjoy. But there's this really difficult to remove layer called parchment. And that's either kind of like, that has to be removed through this giant machine. So there's typically what's known as a hauling station. Again, those are normally, people typically don't have those on their individual farms. They typically have to then transport it to a larger place that will do this for them. At this point in time, you can just do it in like a bag and roll it over your hands for a really long time, but it hurts and it takes forever and you only get like a tiny amount of beans. So processing a ton of beans takes a really long time, and to remove that hull takes a lot of time. And then from there, at that point in time, it is finally ready to transport to wherever it goes. So then you have the people trying to get it on the ships or wherever, and it's like the best thing is going to origin, tasting a coffee, and then being like, okay, when can I get this? And it's going to be like 4 months down the road that it actually arrives in the U.S. By the time it gets through all the customs and everything and is transported here. And then there's a bunch of amazing importers that typically bring it in and warehouse it here. One of the coolest things to ever see is a green coffee warehouse, which there's a bunch of them around in Baltimore and New Jersey area. You walk in there and it's just bags and bags and bags and bags of coffee, like towers of coffee. And it's pretty amazing because a lot of that is handpicked. So it really is like humans out there picking these by hand, processing these by hand, carrying them over their backs, over these mountains to be able to get it to where we all enjoy it. So what I always try to tell my baristas is like, you are the last step in something that took years to get to. It normally takes 3 years for a coffee tree to develop, even start producing, let alone, everything else that just goes into the process of harvesting. So it's extremely important to like understand the value of all the humans that have touched and connected and cared for that coffee along the way. So, do good by them. Produce, care about the coffee. Don't just spill beans on the floor, spill the beans. I really think that's where that saying comes from. It is extremely valuable. So that's, I think, being able to care about those steps and those people along the way, just like in anything, makes you be able to care about the product itself. And I hope food culture is going that direction, as well as like, getting away from mass grocery stores where you don't know who's producing your food, but you're actually able to go to the grocers themselves who are producing and making it, including with coffee, and saying, oh, I see the humans that are doing this, and therefore I value them, therefore I value this product. Yes. So, espresso martini time?
Absolutely. That sounds great. And I did put, for everyone that has texted me or asked individually in the chat, Andrea's email's in there, elementarycoffeecompany@gmail.com. The burlap bags and the coffee grounds and any other questions, because I think you really projected that you're open to questions and you're very educational about this. So I thank you for that. And I want to make sure everyone knows to look in the chat there for your email.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. Yeah. And if you have any other questions that you're like really dying to ask and you don't get them asked tonight too, just email me. It might take me a couple of days to get back to you because that's where things are right now, but I do love coffee questions. I also love to talk about coffee collabs, all the stuff, all that good stuff. All right. So let's see, I have my setup here. Yes. Is anyone making this with me, or am I just going to be drinking alone?
I wasn't joking about sending out the recipe, but I was kind of teasing about some of us maybe having the ingredients. But I'm
making mine with Bailey's Irish Cream, hot coffee and Bailey's Irish Cream.
Oh,
I like a splash as well.
Love it. I'd
rather have a hot coffee than a cold coffee.
Yes. Well, it seems like you're going to be able to have a fun night with that.
Yeah, maybe it'll be I'll have my second or my third.
The best thing about making a cocktail on site, which I don't think I've actually ever done here, is all these readily accessible ingredients. So I just pulled ice from our ice bin, and now we get to go make espresso together. So for another time, we can talk about coffee brew methods, which there's a ton of them. Obviously, espresso is prized for the fact that it uses pressure to extract the coffee, and so you get a particular taste, you get a really condensed form of coffee. So this is the giant machine that does just that, one function, which is to make the best coffee in the world. So here we are. I just got this grinder recently too, so this is a fun experiment for me. So grinding right before you brew whatever it is, even for a martini, is key. You know, we're gonna grind some. And we'll pull this shot here. Perfect shot of espresso. Does anyone know how many seconds you want to pull espresso for? Any coffee?
15 seconds?
How many?
15.
A little bit higher, but that's actually pretty close, yeah. Perfect shot typically is between 24 and 30. That is when it is known by the Specialty Coffee Association, that really kind of pretentious organization that we were talking about earlier, I guess the degree of time in which is needed to do that perfect extraction. I have tasted 15-second shots can also taste pretty good, actually. It just depends on what you're going for. So we're pulling this shot right into our shot glass. This is a double shot because I'm going to stay awake all night. And so we have a beautiful, beautiful, what known as the crema, which is there. So this is a beautiful shot, but we're going to throw it in a cocktail. So it really doesn't matter. I recommend for home espresso, which I thought about doing this whole thing at home. But if people are familiar with the mocha pot stovetop espresso, that's what I use for my home martinis, which is great. All right, we're gonna dump that in there. See what else. I debated about getting Irish cream instead of or Bailey's or something instead of Kahlua, but I got Kahlua because I'm drinking Costa Rica coffee, so I gotta at least stay in Central, Mexico. So that was the choice into that. I don't know if I made the right choice. You can.
But it's St. Patrick's. It's St. Patrick's Day weekend. It's weekend. It's a week of St. Patrick's.
Shoot, I know. I'm so sorry. My Irish heritage would probably be so upset with me right now. All right, so we have that. We have our 2 ounces of. I'm definitely looking at the recipe because I'm really terrible at making things off the top of my head. This is why I'm not a competitor. Those competitions that we were talking about earlier, I can't remember things when I'm on the spot. And then this is our specialty, is the maple syrup. So if you've ever been to our shop, we sweeten everything with maple syrup. I have a maple syrup dealer. He's in Somerset. He's amazing. I think we are his biggest wholesaler of maple syrup. But anyway, half an ounce, which should be done pumping that. We just have it on site. All right. Oh, could somebody tell me, did I forget anything? Could somebody tell me how, because you're all chefs, right? Or you have stuff. How do you get a curl of a twist of orange? What is the proper method to do that? I don't know.
So I would say a channel knife would
You need a channel knife.
I knew. I was like, if it's not the right equipment, that's probably why. All right, how's my shake?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
All right, let's straighten this out. So after this is all over, we'll all have to get together for espresso martinis. Yeah. All right. Do our little.
And while you're finishing that espresso pot you're talking about on the stove, they just came out with a new electric one that you can push the on button and it automatically shuts off when it's percolated, and it's a clear glass top so you can see it. I'm telling you, I have it every day. So it's a new thing. Check it out. Amazon.com.
I didn't know about this. This is news to me.
For those of you that aren't familiar, you put it on the stove top, but once it has percolated, you think it's percolated and you shut it off. This, you can see that you got all your coffee out of there.
Sputtering everywhere and doing,
yes.
Okay, so you can't really see my cocktail. I'm realizing because I didn't have the appropriate wear, and I thought about, I don't have a martini glass as a conclusion. I'm very frugal with the things I buy for myself. So, but I have a lot of coffee mugs. It's in a coffee mug. I promise It's going to be delicious.
But you could probably use agave syrup instead of maple syrup, probably. Instead of maple syrup, you could use agave syrup.
Yeah, I think that like a simple syrup would be really good, or anything that's gonna, I feel like that would, like, I thought about doing something with like a hint of orange already in it, because I feel like that would mix really well. Yeah, what other variations do people like?
Personally, I add just a splash of Bailey's in there just to give it a little bit of creaminess, but I don't like the overly sweetness either. I might use the creme de cacao over the Kahlua. Certainly the vodka and the espresso as well.
I'd say it's really good. Probably the best part is going to be eating the soaked coffee beans that I garnished it with at the bottom. So I also love, I don't know if you all, I love putting some coffee beans in whiskey and letting them just sit for a long time and having coffee flavored whiskey. It's really good. So
let me ask you one question. Our ingredient of the month, the American Culinary Federation puts out an ingredient of the month, and this month is butter. So I almost thought about doing a butter coffee, either for the culinary side of it, or adding that butter to coffee. What's your take on that?
Oh man, so I mean, there was the Bulletproof Coffee, which is a huge fad that still is kind of going on. It's kind of interesting. The people that are all about it are all about it. They're like still obsessed with it, and it's like blending coffee and butter. It is really good. It comes out like really, really creamy. But I am obsessed. Raising the Bar, that also is in the Broad Street Market, and we get pastries from here. They do a coffee butter. So like it's just coffee and butter, and it is so good. It is incredible to put on toast, to just enjoy on a cracker. Like it's really, really good. So I also, going that route, I also think it's absolutely delicious. But butter is such an interesting one. I love that.
Thank you
I want to know
very much.
Yeah.
Certainly, we very much appreciate you taking the time, going in there and showing us. We got some great visuals as to what what it looks like in there, and certainly the martini, but all the coffee knowledge, even those visuals of, I remember when we were training for the Knowledge Bowl, the description of a coffee cherry, and I'd never heard that before, and it is very unique. So putting that picture with it too is really awesome. And your enthusiasm, your passion for delivering great quality, bringing the community together is very, very rewarding to hear. Thank you so much for taking the time.
What about monkey coffee? Ever try monkey coffee? The coffee
well, there's humans doing it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that much of a difference than regular coffee. I mean,
it's
for the money that they charge.
Yeah, there's actually an article I think coming out in the new like coffee magazine that we get that's like, all right, is there an ethical way to actually produce this coffee without making animals poop it out? I have a really quick story about that, in which there was a blind taste test of that and also paired with a really, really, really good coffee, like the highest grade coffee in the world. There was a blind taste test. And after these tasters, they were describing the coffees, and the one was like, oh, this one was so floral and delicious. It was like smooth. It was all these things. And they're like, what about the other coffee? And they said, it tastes like shit.
Really?
Yes. So cheers. I think with coffee that animals weren't used in that way.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Thank
everybody.
you again. Very much appreciate it. You're more than welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting. I understand if you want to enjoy your martini and head on home as well. But thank you so much. And everyone has your email, and I'm sure you'll be getting some emails with follow-up questions, definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good evening. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up my screen now to the gallery view so that I can see everyone that's joined us. And I thought, what a great presentation. So certainly, Anna, thank you for setting that up here for us. While I now am officially getting into the meeting, I did want to open it up. I see we have a lot of members joining us. Do we have any guests tonight or new members that we haven't seen in a while that would like to say hello?
Ken Selmer, Atlanta, Georgia.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, so Chef Michael invited me to join tonight, and we just had our chapter meeting tonight as well, so that one just signed off, so I can be with you for a little bit here.
Ken, is Aaron? Do you see Aaron on?
Can you hear that?
Hey, Michael.
Aaron, you're here? All right, there he is. So my two colleagues, Aaron is from the middle of Alabama. I'm really not sure where. Hanceville. Is that right? Aaron, is that right? Hansville?
Looks like Chef Nichols, it doesn't look like you're muted, but we're not able to.
There he is.
No.
Anyway, yeah, and Ken was my partner, my colleague who helped me with the accreditation visit at Aaron's school last week. So I extended the invite to let them see what it is that we're all about. I know that Chef Nichols doesn't have an opportunity to do a lot with his local chapter, so we invited him to join us on a regular basis because his chapter is not holding Zoom calls or Zoom meetings. So we're very happy to have him. And I did see that Philip decided to show up and take a beating. Thank you. I see you too.
So for all I'm not aware, there has been some smack talk over the last month over this challenge reveal here that we're going to see in a little bit here.
And that's it. So thank you, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Chef, certainly for inviting others. And, you know, I hear this way too often that local chapters that aren't getting together, and a simple email of, hey, please include, and let's invite. Certainly, please continue to invite others to join us. I think we have a lot to offer and a lot for everyone to experience. I know I see some students on as well throughout the evening, a lot for the presentation, so that was great to have them with us. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us here tonight. I do want to go ahead and start off with our going down the agenda, starting off with our February mise en place. Before I pull it up, can anyone tell me who the student spotlight was for February? Then the two people that were involved in getting that written.
Emily Schmidt.
Emily Schmidt. And who's Emily Schmidt?
I don't know.
But you at least knew her.
She worked at the Hershey Hotel.
I'm going to tell you, she was at, well, first off, you could
also at the country club, I think now.
You could certainly read about it. All right, let me give you a quick. Emily Schmidt was one of the first apprentices. She went through Lebanon County Career and Technology Center and transferred with her apprenticeship certification to HAC and transferred in over 40 credits, spent 2 more semesters, I believe, and graduated with her associate degree. So the first student that we had that went through the apprenticeship program and then continued transfer to HAC and got her associate degree. And now I believe is going for her business degree at Drexel.
That's correct. She just announced that.
Okay, good. So yeah, she certainly is moving forward, and someone that we certainly wanted to spotlight when we had that opportunity. So just one thing that I pulled off of what I think is a pretty good document for you all to check out, the mise en place, if you did not. Kudos to Renee for getting that out. I think she had that to me by Tuesday, the day after the meeting. So even though I held up a day or two, certainly got that out, and it seems as though, if anything, we're definitely kind of ahead of the game now and getting some of that communication. So please continue to look for that, for links, information we go over tonight, for upcoming webinars, recent information that will be valuable, rather than it being a week, before the meeting and again, slightly outdated. So with that, I do have the mise en place pulled up. If anybody had any questions, any concerns, any discussion on the mise en place. There she is. Great banana tacos with salted caramel peanut sauce. Any comment on the mise en place?
The only thing I wish I miss all the, I wish I had a banana taco for myself. I mean, instead of just seeing on a picture. Them did a pretty good job with it.
We can all relate to that, Chef. If you would like to prepare it all, we can come and pick it up before the next meeting, no problem.
But I don't know if I told you a true story when I talk about myself last month. One of my favorite things that I love bananas. Bananas is probably one of my favorite fruits in the world. When I was in Portugal and I was a little boy, we never had any bananas in Portugal. It was just such a hard thing to come to Portugal. In my dream, when I came to America, I was going to eat so many bananas when I came to the United States. And that's the truth. I eat so many bananas, I'll probably eat 3 bananas a day. I love bananas, So it's one of my favorite things to do. So.
Do you still eat 3 bananas a day?
At least 3 bananas a day, maybe 4 sometimes.
Wow.
So I eat a lot of bananas.
That's
Not
great.
my organic bananas, though, so they're good for you. So bananas are good. Thanks for the recipe, Tom. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try that.
It's a good recipe.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good. All right, thank you for the comment. Any other comments, notes, edits, anything before we entertain a motion to approve the minutes? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion. If anyone would like to so move, please.
Motion to approve, Brian.
Second for me.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written in the February mise en place, please vote by saying aye, raise your hand, or thumbs up.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? All right, we'll go ahead then and pass the minutes as written in that February mise en place. All right, next up is the treasurer's report. Sure. See you with us.
Hi, good evening. For our account, we haven't had hardly any activity actually this past month other than a 12-cent added of interest to our savings account, which brings our savings account to $5,349.08. And our checking account has $2,989.83. With that, I have also had 4 of our members that have donated to our scholarships account. And we currently have $200 in that, which brings us to a total of $8,538.91.
And Sherry, I know a question that was asked if someone wanted to donate money towards that scholarship. I know it's not fully set up now, but is there a process right now if someone wanted to send in a check to donate towards that?
I would say just contact me directly and I can give you a mailing address to send that to. I would say by next month I should fully have that set up, and I'd like to attach it to a Venmo account. That is a service that you can use to send money, and it seems to work pretty quickly and efficiently without any fees. So I'm going to attach that to our new account once that is officially set up. But if you have anything in the meanwhile that you'd like to send, just contact me and I'll give you my address.
Thank you. Are there any questions, discussions, concerns about the the treasurer's report? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for February.
I second first. Or second, whatever.
And was that Chef Long for the first?
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report as stated by Chef Harris, please vote by saying aye, raise your hand, or thumbs up.
Aye.
Any opposed likewise? All right, go ahead and pass the treasurer's report. Thank you, Cher. For the president's report, I knew we had a lot of things going on in this meeting. I certainly expected a lot of conversation around coffee. It's one of my favorite things. I know our chopped, reveal here, we want to get to that. So instead of talking about butter, and like I said, instead of mixing butter with coffee or, the coffee powder, espresso powder with butter, instead I wanted to focus on what upcoming events and different announcements, things that are going on. Right now, I just got an update today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can all view it as well. Just updated through the industry coming from the National Restaurant Association or Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. Today, the Wolf administration for our industry update, that changes will take effect on April 4th. So it's still 2.5–3 weeks out, but bar service may resume as of April 4th. The meal requirement for alcohol purchases will be eliminated. The 11 p.m. curfew for alcohol sales will be lifted. Indoor dining capacity is raised to 75% for restaurants that have self-certified or 50% for those that have not. Indoor events have a maximum occupancy of 25% and outdoor of 50%. Now this is very brief, I realize, and this is an email that I get daily from the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. I know several others do as well. But there's news out there, there's things changing. So certainly this is something that just came out today. I wanted to make sure everyone was updated on that. In addition, there are upcoming webinars coming up here through the ACF. They put together a forum of webinars for the spring. On March 17th, there's Chefs Go Green, Reducing Food Waste in Your Kitchen. This came out in an email, and I'm going to send it out as an attachment as well, so that all these links are going to be live here for you. March 23rd, no meat, no dairy, no gluten, no problem. Menus for all type of dairy dietary preferences. We also have Future Ready Chefs, Culinary Career Pathways for Job Ready Graduates on March 31st at 11 a.m. We have a plant-based cuisine for healthcare and senior dining in April. And then there is also a live virtual tour of a modernist cuisine lab, April 14th. And then on April 20th, you have Exploring Culinary Cannabis and Edibles 2021. So there's some upcoming events that I wanted to make sure that you're aware of, and certainly I will be sure to announce them in a separate email so that you have all those links readily available for you as well. Also coming up, a few announcements that I had made in the email, but just to bring them to your attention, the National Convention did move, and they've shifted it 3 weeks to try and give some extra time. When I say move, it moved date-wise. So August 2nd through the 5th will now be the National Convention. It will not be in July anymore. Still be in Florida. And with that, the American Academy of Chefs also moved their dinner now. Their focus is going to be at the National Convention. They have canceled any dinner that was going to happen later on here in March at any type of regional convention. So I did announce that in an email, but again, it's amongst maybe 4 other things. So I wanted to make sure that was fresh on everyone's minds. And then what I also wanted to focus on was the idea that we have a national election coming up. And personally, whenever I go to vote for something, I feel like I need to have a little insight about who I'm voting for. Otherwise, I'm just randomly picking a name that sounds cool. And this is a national organization, and this is a time I feel it is extremely valuable for us to have those going into these new positions, looking at this with open eyes and looking at how can we reduce our debt? How can we grow our membership? How can we get students more involved and more engaged? There's a lot of things. And I definitely want to thank Michael Herrens. He got me started with the idea of attending these town halls, gave me some insight. I was able to send that out to the group. We attended the first town hall, which was for all the all the regional vice presidents. I submitted 3 questions. Michael submitted 3 questions. There were 6 questions asked that were pre-submitted, 3 of mine and 3 of Michael's. And that was it. Then the questions in the chat, of course, which was great. But out of 10,000 plus members in the American Culinary Federation, 45 members showed up to this town hall. Now, mind you, when it comes to the regional vice presidents, it was 1 hour. Each of them got an opening statement, then we asked a question, they went to all 4 in the same order. So, you know, it was a learning curve, because certainly the first person to answer the question always got a lot out. And the last person, well, I guess everyone's already pretty much said it, I'm just summing up. There is 1 person running for Central, 1 for Northeast, 1 for the Western, and then there's 2 running in the Southeast. So that's where really there's an election going on. What I wanted to show you and walk you through to make sure everyone knew where to find this information. As you go on the ACF website here, acfchefs.org, you go about ACF to the election page. It'll bring up our town hall meetings. Here's where you can register the last 2. The treasurer one is this Thursday. There are 4 individuals running, and the president position, which there is only 2 individuals running. A very extremely important position here, as these all are. There is only 2 individuals. You will get to meet them. You will get to ask questions. And I find the chat is, those questions are being put in a lot more as well. But I wanted you to see where you can find all these candidates. And while I don't want to necessarily take 45 minutes of our meeting to go over each and every one, I wanted you to be able to view. Here's where they have a website. They have a video statement, the statement and bio from each of the candidates. So our national president, we have Kimberly Brock Brown and Mark Wright both running. Mark Wright was the secretary over the last several years, and they had Kimberly Brock Brown, the regional vice president of the Southern region. Then we have for secretary, we just saw these 2 individuals last Thursday. You have Chef Bacon and then Chef Tillinghast. Completely different individuals. And when I say completely different individuals, and I don't want to seem biased in any way, but using their words, Jeff Bacon says, I am all for radical change, and I will push that radical change and getting this organization, you know, built and organized, structured the way it should be. I want to project that, and I want to, you know, guide, but really it's the president's position to accept that and what role they're going to take. Chef Tillinghast has been in the position, has been in the Board of Governors here for a good bit of time, and felt Nothing really should change, but yet he's open and willing to look at any possibility of change. So one is very aggressive in it, and one is willing to accept and explore possibility of change. So certainly that came out drastically in that town hall just last Thursday. And then National Treasure, which again is coming up just here in a few days this week. We have 4 individuals. I've submitted 1 question, and I know Michael has submitted a few as well. And then what I found is a live chat interacting and asking follow-up questions based on statements that were made seems to be the best course of action. So if anyone plans to attend, certainly that chat function, your questions are getting answered in there. Also at the top, there is a recording that will also show you those questions and any follow-up questions beyond that. And then down below are going to be all these regional vice presidents that I had mentioned here as well. Okay, so again, up here, if you wanted to see any of those video recordings, I really just wanted to put them out there. I wanted you to see faces with names. I wanted you to be able to recognize these individuals coming forth. A question I had today, I wanted to write down this information for you, is when is this, when are we going to vote? When is this, election? What is the timeline that we're looking at? To answer that question for you, because I know it's all on the tip of your tongue, on the 19th of April, any ballots that need to be mailed will be sent out. April 26th is when the electronic ballots will go out, and May 10th, midnight Hawaiian time, is when all ballots must be submitted. And then if there is any runoff, they'll continue after that point. Okay? Just so that you all have an idea as to when to look out for that. Again, we're about a month out from there. Michael, that is all I have for the president's message. Michael, did you have any follow-up that you wanted on those town hall meetings, just since that was what I was ending off on there?
Yes, I want, while I'm talking, if you'd be kind enough to pull up the forum so we could direct people to the forum. But what I do want to point out is the, did you tell everybody the number of people that attended the first one? How about the number of people that attended the second one? The number of people that attended the second event was the same, 55, and it went down to about 35 towards the end. So again, 10,000 plus members, and we get less than 4%, less than 0.004% of the people joining. So I encourage everybody here to register, launch the meeting, and take a chance and ask a question. Some of the questions that we've been getting or that we've been seeing are a little too focused on the individual person or their experiences, when really the question should be geared towards the Federation as a whole. If things don't change, if treasurers don't come into control of the budget, and if people don't start creating some level of revenue generation other than just membership, then this organization has about 5 to 6 years left in it, because there just isn't the funding out there in order to make this go. We're losing vendors, sponsorship or support, we're losing members. I think the quote today was ACF is dying by 1,000 paper cuts, and that is just one member at a time, one member at a time. And I encourage everybody to get out there. Some of the things that I've been seeing as I go out and I do accreditation visits, and I don't know if Chef Nichols is still on, but a lot of his students weren't aware of some of the things that they offer, that the ACF offers to them. So we were able to give them a quick education on some of the benefits, and then some of the drama that's involved in it as well, and they all seem to be interested. So it's getting that junior member. I know that Autumn and I have been very aggressive about asking for junior members to get a full vote instead of this 1/4 vote, which is just absolutely asinine. But that's going to take some real hardcore change, and I think that it is possible, but it's going to take a little while. I would like to see immediate change. I think we need it, and I think we need it so we stop hemorrhaging. But that is my opinion. That is not shared by a whole lot. But if you go to the forum, perhaps read some of the threads all the way down. I'm very pleased to have started it and started the discussion. And I'm very pleased that the general membership as a whole, even though there are some systemic posters there, are saying the things that bother them and saying the things that need to change. So I'd leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef. Appreciate that. So again, this Thursday, as well as the following Thursday, are the last two. And certainly if you can't make it this Thursday, please make a point for the president town hall. Again, get to know who you're voting for. They are recorded, they are there for you to vote, but realistically, how many of us are going to go back and watch that recording? So if you can pop in just to at least hear and get some initial feel for, even though they have statements, I felt like the answers to their questions really gave a lot more insight individually. Okay, with that, like I said, I know we have a lot more going on, so I'm going to pass it off to Chef Long to talk about our educational survey, and then Rashida up next with our Chop Challenge.
Hi, everybody. How are you today? Great presentation tonight from the coffee lady. That was awesome. She got a lot of knowledge. We did our survey. Thank you to everybody that completed the survey. We actually had 23 complete the survey. And our next survey will be about some of our chapter functions. But this one, we wanted to focus on education because we know education is important. And we wanted to know some ideas about format and some suggestions. So we had a lot of great ideas. And I'm going to publish this into the next newsletter, some of the ideas that we had and some of the responses, because we want to be very transparent about it. A lot of trends seems to be a big thing. Everybody wants to know what the new trends are. And they feel that that's one of the things that we as a chapter could be able to provide for everybody, what some of the upcoming trends are. Sustainability was something, fermentation of any kind, food science, ghost kitchens was one of the things that came up. I have to be honest with you, I didn't know what a ghost kitchen was. I thought it was a haunted kitchen, but it is not. So I looked it up and I talked about it in my class today, what a ghost kitchen was. And I thought it was a great idea. And it was something that's come out of the pandemic, which is, when we have to, we can come up with ideas and solutions. So I thought we just need to find somebody that has set up a ghost kitchen and how they go about it and what they do. Mixology was one. Unusual foods was another suggestion. Rare foods, things that that people have never seen and how to prepare them. So I thought there was a lot of great ideas. And that was on our first question. Our second question was geared to more about students. Like if we could help students in any way by maybe giving them some type of certificate of attendance for coming into the chapter and getting some information. And surprisingly, for me, the number one answer was culinary math and yields was what everybody kind of thought that the students needed the most help on. And I thought that was great. And you know what? That is a mystery to a lot of people unless you've done it. And so that was the number one answer, followed by a second, sanitation and safety. But many people felt they were all important. And then our last question was about how we present our education in the Zoom format. And this was no surprise to me, but the number one answer was demonstration with Q&A at the end. People like to see things happening in front of them. So even the young lady tonight doing the martini, it was entertaining. We're watching her, we're seeing something in front of us happening, we're envisioning it, we're actually smelling it in our minds just by watching what she's doing. So that was the number one answer, live demonstration. And then number two was pre-recorded, followed by Q&A. So that kind of says a lot, that people want to see action in what we do. PowerPoint, of course, was last, death by PowerPoint. But it's, we've evolved out of that, hopefully. But sometimes PowerPoint does bring something to the table. You need to disseminate information. So I want to thank everybody for participating. And I think this is a great way to this is kind of where we are and what we got to do to find out how we can, improve what we do and try to stay ahead of the game. So we did get 23 responses. So the 21st person, Chef Patty, I'm not sure how we know who that is. There might be a secret.
Okay, I thought you were going to say who it was. I was on the edge of my seat. I will find that out then. I will find that out. They do come in and they do order them. So knowing that we just got a couple more responses, I
do know which one it was, yes.
Oh, so you do know?
I don't know who it was because the names don't come up. But I did know when the response was put in.
Okay.
But the 21st person actually gets a Chef's Apprentice cookbook autographed by Chef Tom Long. Can't beat that.
That's awesome, Chef. Thank you. All right, so you're going to have to open the newsletter and you're going to have to see who won to see if it was you. We're going to
All
leave
right.
it at that. How about that? So later on this week, you see that newsletter, you're going to have to open it to see if you're winning that that new cookbook autographed by Chef Long there. And thank you again, Chef. That's great.
Yep.
So new survey coming out this week, next week, in the next couple weeks.
I'm going to say in the next couple of weeks. Yep.
Okay.
And we're going to focus on some things about our meetings, times, length, whatever. We want to kind of know how you feel.
Great. I appreciate that. Awesome. Anything else, Chef?
No, thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thank you again, everyone that participated in that. It's great to get some individual answers and responses so that we get that feedback. Rashida, we have been waiting to hear about, and I've posted and gotten students excited. So we have chefs volunteer for a chopped Harrisburg ACF style or ACF way, with the idea that you were presenting them ingredients, they were creating dishes, bringing it back and telling us how they put these together. Tell us a little bit about what you gave to each chef and set the stage for us as to what they had to work with.
Okay, so the ingredients that I did give all three chefs to use was pork loin, polenta, cabbage, and coffee. And I told them they could either use ground or the liquid form of coffee. And I only did that one because we were talking about coffee this evening. I thought that would be fitting for that. And all three of them, they were all overachievers, and I was very impressed with what they came up with. Very.
Even the pastry chef was an overachiever.
Coming for you, Michael. I'm coming for you.
I can't see you, Cher. I can't see you. Therefore,
You're not looking then, because she's right here looking at
right
you.
at her.
There's two of me.
Yeah.
Well, then close one because I can't see the other.
Hey, stop smiling. Scowl at him. I'm scowling too.
All right. So, Rashida, who do you want to go first to reveal what they did with these ingredients?
We'll go with Chef Michael.
Okay.
Wise choice.
I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, Chef, but realize I'm pulling up your information. You just
Okay, good. Okay, well, as soon as the presentation is up, there we go. Thank you, Autumn. I turned mine into a, no, that's, I didn't say next slide. Thank you very much. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Michael. I took this mystery basket challenge on with a vengeance because I was not, next slide. Go ahead, next slide. Thank you very much. The coffee, the polenta, the cabbage, the pork loin, this was all easy stuff. I love every one of them. Just never would have thought to put them all together, but it really did come together. So in addition to the challenge, next slide, please, I had some goals. And that was to be, number one, was to prepare a dish better than any pastry chef ever could because she's local and she knows where I live. So that I would never live it down. And then the second part of the objective was to do way better than some relocated British expat chef uniform salesman, which is lame, or culinary school director, which is a desk job. And when I was there, I didn't see him once come out of his office, hiding out from the Interpol authorities in the Philippines. And I know where he lives. So I'm not going back to the Philippines in the very near future unless Philip needs me for something, but he'll forget about all this. Next, please. So with the cabbage and the coffee, I wanted to keep the standard cabbage head using red and white cabbage, and I wanted to make sure that we tasted the actual cabbage flavor. So I landed on a red cabbage marmalade, something that would become naturally sweet just through the braising process. It was some clarified butter and the red cabbage with a little bit of caraway seasoning. And I just cooked that down, threw a lid on it, put it in the oven. The next was going to be because I wanted to showcase two cabbages. The next was a stewed white cabbage finished with brown butter. And of course, both were seasoned with salt and pepper. I knew the coffee would go on the pork straight away, but I also thought about coffee polenta, but I thought that would just be too dark because pork is going to be dark, the sauce is going to be dark, so I decided against it. I didn't want to do a rub, so I turned it into a brine for the pork. So I took some coffee, Did a cold brew overnight, 24 hours to extract as much as possible, and then turned it into added it to a standard brine with some rosemary branches. Next, please. I wasn't sure how I was going to cook the pork, and I thought probably the best way to highlight the coffee and to keep the pork nice and most moist was to cook it slow. So I decided on smoking. I let it brine for about 48 hours. I Frenched the bone, tied it up to hold its shape. I did think about sous vide and then do a sear, but I didn't go that direction. I took apple cherry, and we had a dead rosemary bush from didn't survive the winter, so I took some of that and soaked all that wood and used that as my my smoking chips. Tom Long will be the first to tell you that polenta is just my thing. So Tom, shout out to you. But I prefer coarse ground polenta, not the standard stuff. So I like more of a cracked corn, tough, a little tougher, but a little more challenging to do, as well as it has some texture. Since I was smoking the pork and I wanted to add something unique to the polenta, I thought about smoking some garlic. So I cut the base of the head off, put a little olive oil, rubbed it down, and then threw it on a piece of foil and smoked the garlic. Next slide, please. So this is a few pictures of what I did. I thought about taking pictures after I did the cabbage, but you can see that I've tied the pork and I've got the roasted garlic ready to go, the smoked garlic, the smoking process, and then you can see how nicely the pork turned out. And then if you look at the cross section of the loin itself, I did do a bone-in loin. Excuse me, you can see the smoke line penetration through there. It really got in there very nicely. And if you want to blow this picture up a little bit, you'll see just how juicy it really is if you look down towards where the tail is. So no, you don't have to blow it up on them. And then I plated it for dinner. Next slide. And there it is, coffee brine pork loin with coffee and mushroom demi-glace, smoked garlic polenta, red cabbage marmalade, brown butter braised cabbage, and then a little bit of color, glazed carrots and scallions. So I will admit my plate is a little messy. Spoon got away from me a little bit when I was saucing it because I didn't want to get it on the pork at all. And then I probably should have taken my white cabbage and thrown it in between the red cabbage and the carrots. Didn't happen, so I'll take a few point loss for that one. But this is what I ended up with. My wife, who hates smoked foods, said she'd only eat half of this, ate the whole thing. So I was very impressed. And if I can please her, I can please just about anybody. And that's it.
Very awesome.
Looks good, Michael.
Thank you. You'll notice there are no pipings, no marzipan, no sugar involved whatsoever.
Didn't you put sugar in the cabbage?
Please, John, I'm a professional.
Rashida, what's your thoughts? This is your concept. What do you think? What's your feedback?
My feedback is, I guess, when you look at the ingredients by themselves, it was more like, how would you use them to make them all come together and be cohesive? And I just think the way he decided to do it, especially smoking it, and then I guess for me to top it all off, it was the demi-glaze with the coffee and the mushroom. And I'm pretty sure, looking at it, it all came together and it tastes very good. I was very impressed. You went, I think, above and beyond, especially with using the bone-in and deciding that you wanted to smoke it, and that's the process that's low and slow, and you took it and you did it.
I'm all a flutter, thank you.
I was going to say, he needs a fan. He needs a fan. Hey, Renee asked, did the coffee brine come through? Even though.
Oh yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes, it did, because the smoke was light. It was a sweet wood, so it wasn't overpowering. The rosemary, I hoped to impart a little more rosemary flavor into it, but it really didn't take on any of the rosemary smoke, which is fine. But the coffee did come through. I think I could have gone with more coffee in the brine itself. And again, if I had maybe doubled up the coffee in the cold brew in order to have that, I may have had more coffee flavor come through. But then there's the balance of ensuring that the coffee doesn't color the pork too much, but impart flavor. So, but to answer Renee's question, yes, the coffee did come through. Faint, but yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef, for stepping up to
Okay.
the challenge, definitely.
You're welcome. You'll notice there were no Asian flavors, no influences from other
Please do.
islands in the South Pacific. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Good job, Mike.
Rashida, who's up next?
Next, I would like to go with Chef Golding. There was, I want him to go and I want him to present because there was some complications and, thinking of this when we were supposed to be here, but it's okay. And I think he, being not here in the U.S., the way he also used his ingredients were awesome.
Yes.
Rashida,
again,
those complications, are you indicating the complications that he can't tell time?
Stop. So thank you, Chef, for joining us. And again, for anyone that's not aware, in the Philippines, he's 12 hours ahead. So it's actually Tuesday morning, I believe, at 8 o'clock. So thank you for being with us, Chef. And certainly thank you for stepping up to this challenge as well. I do have a recipe and then I believe 2 different videos here. So guide me through what you want me to show.
Okay, good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good morning.
Good.
Yeah, I was, good morning. I was one day ahead. It's a hectic week for me because I'm actually coordinating the Irish Beef and Irish Pork Festival in the Philippines, and I have some filming to do. And it's been a crazy couple of days. And we're also launching the new air fryer from Brew. So anyway, good morning to everybody. My name is Philip John Golding. And what I did with the challenge, thank you so much, was I roasted our Irish pork belly, which I marinated in some Mexican spices because I was in Mexico for the last couple of years at Christmas working with the Mexican Chefs Association. So I came up with the chipotle seasoning. And then I used what we call a queso pute, I explained that, which is a cheese. And I pickled my red cabbage and marinated the sultanas. First of all, I steeped them in tea. I'm sure Mike will love that. So I steeped to an English tea, Earl Grey, and that was part of the red cabbage dish. So you can see the ingredients in front of you. I used the polenta, which I found, which is a local polenta, the sultanas, and I found some tamarind glaze where I cooked my shallots in the tamarind and coffee and slow cooked it down and then roasted them in the Breville oven after. So basically, it was great timing because I tried the new Breville air fryer and I was very surprised. It came out really juicy and crispy on the skin, just how we like it over here. The pickled cabbage is based upon a local dish here called achara, so A-T-C-H-A-R-A, and that was with apple vinegar as well to spike it up and give that tang. I love playing with polenta, so the polenta was super, super cool. I used, I kind of Monteo bird in the queso pute into the polenta as I cooked it in the pot on the stove, and then I baked it in a Spanish clay pot, and then I turned it out, and then I fried it after. So I let it set, then I fried it. There's a very nice crispy texture with a very soft, gooey queso pute. The queso pute actually is, as I mentioned, a local cheese. It's very similar to feta, but it's got elasticity. I use the coffee from the espresso barista from Breville, and I would love your coffee presentation earlier. Awesome. Wish I'd tried one of those coffees that you were making. And yeah, as I said, the queso pute is a Filipino soft cheese, which is made from unskimmed Carabao milk, the Carabao, and it's soft curdled with vinegar and citrus juices, and sometimes rennet. It comes from goat and cow as a mild salty and tart flavor. What I loved about this dish is the tamarind is a leguminous tree bearing edible fruit. It's indigenous to tropical Africa, and it also has some health benefits, which I found out later on that people with dry eye, it's used for constipation, it's used for gallbladder disorders. So, and it helps the bile flow through the liver. So I love that when food becomes medicine. So not just, I believe that the future of chefs is and always been for safe practices, safe food. And if we can have a nutritious spin that has relative to diet and stuff, which is a big, big thing. in the Philippines because of our high salt, high sodium, high sugar. So therefore, this dish was put together in terms of not just the challenge, but also the health benefits from the dish. So that was it from me, but the flavors all worked and the coffee came through wonderful. And like Mike and myself, I wanted the coffee to be subtle, but to be pungent in the shallots, and it all came together. So thank you very much for the challenge. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef. That looks great. Rashida, questions, comments?
I don't have any questions, but my comments are, I do love the plating. I think the way it's plated is just bright, it's colorful, especially when Chef Michael had mentioned before, you know, not wanting the brown and the brown. And I think just the way it's plated, it's like, wow, it looks like it could be in a magazine somewhere as a dish.
I thank you for that, because in the Philippines, we're known as the 7 shades of brown, because the food is brown, 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 all the cuisine. So with my students, I'm always looking at food to pop up and be very colorful. And that's why I love the red cabbage and the contrast of the golden yellow polenta, knowing that the pork was going to be. But the ratio of the pork belly was incredible from the Irish pork. I have to say that we ambassador and bring in the Irish pork and Irish beef, and just the texture of the pork in the air fryer alone was fabulous. So thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Oh, I hope you saw in the chat, you even got, you know, even though he's giving you a hard time, he gave you a well done there.
Hey, all kidding
Thanks, Mike.
aside, Philip is a very talented chef. And some of the things that he and his students were doing during my visit there were just unbelievable. So hats off. That was nicely done, Chef.
Yeah, thank you. And just back to the ghost kitchen, cloud kitchen. I saw earlier you were talking about that. This is a big rave in the Philippines now, with 70% of our industry on its knees. One of our partners that I partnered up are doing 100,000 meals a day out of a cloud kitchen. And the cloud kitchen, which is the ghost kitchen, started because the BPO industry, which is massive here, and you guys have a lot of friends, I'm sure, that work in the Philippines, and the BPO, the credit card, and blah, 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 blah. It's a huge industry. So when the canteen stopped, they had to find another way, because the BPOs were halted to a certain degree. They flipped that scenario, and the guy that I'm working with is doing 100,000 meals a day in cloud kitchens, which is I went to visit the kitchen. It's incredible. But we just were happy to launch with the US, working with the largest protein company in the US. I've been working with some of you guys out there, PFG. They're a massive company, and we're about 100 metric ton of food coming in from the US. Obviously, the shipping line industry, which I'm involved in as well, is on its knees as well. So therefore, I'd love to join you guys at some stage about cloud kitchen, ghost kitchens, because it's a big rave here, with also Grab Kitchen. There's at least 60 motorcycles just around my apartment here every night out there, just boom, 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 delivery. People are still scared. We've had the longest lockdown for a year. Yesterday was our anniversary for being locked down, and everybody else has the vaccine, and we're slow. But anyway, that was a great topic, as well as plant-based food, which is huge. Every day I see a new product. So thanks for letting me join your meetings, and I look forward to working with you on other things. And keep the chop going. I love the chop. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef, and you're welcome anytime, certainly. Appreciate all of that. All right, we have one more to reveal here. Chef Share, I believe same thing. I have yours here, and then you can just walk me through what you want me to do with it in a moment.
Okay. So yes, I know I am just a pastry chef, but I do love to cook, so I would take the challenge. Starting with trying to figure out what to do with polenta. I was going to do again, I wanted to smoke my polenta cakes, which I did do in the end. So I started with making the polenta with some thyme and sage, and then I roasted off the squash and diced it up and put it throughout that polenta, pressed it down, and then cut it up to be smoked later throughout. And then this is the start of a duxelles. So you know I'm headed into, my thought was to take it to a Wellington But I decided to do a deconstructed method of a Wellington. So yes, next page, please. I marinated also my pork loin in a balsamic and white wine marinade, and that was for only 24 hours. Sorry, Michael, I didn't meet your 48. And then started into doing a braised red cabbage, but decided that I wanted to add some fennel and apple into that. Next slide. My Wellington, starting to be prepped there. If I would have had thought of this maybe before working on it before, maybe yesterday afternoon, I would have loved to actually make my own puff pastry. And my thought was to take the coffee and put it in the butter and actually do puff pastry in that manner. So especially after seeing the elementary presentation, now I definitely want to make laminated dough with butter coffee. But this one is not, but I did sear off my pork loin and using the coffee grinds in my mustard rub, which went underneath the prosciutto wrap. Next slide. And then we end up with what I have on my entire plate, which I do get a little crazy with what all I put on my plate. You can't even see my red cabbage, but it is behind my little puff pastry pie. And the duck cell is inside of that puff pastry. And underneath that, I did take some of the extra squash that I had diced into the, the polenta squash cake, and then the squash puree is underneath. The red braised cabbage is behind it, and then I had the deconstructed portion of the pork standing up next to it. So,
Nice.
it was a fun afternoon, and I love the challenge.
Very awesome. Very awesome. Thank you for taking on the challenge. Certainly. Rashida, what's your thoughts here?
Again, it's amazing. I would have never thought to take those ingredients and go away of a Wellington the way that she did. And I think adding the, again, like mushrooms and squash, that was a great idea. And of course, the plating is beautiful. And that's one thing I'm into. I'm into plating and learning different new ways of plating stuff. But yes, it's great. I love it.
Very awesome. And Rashida, you had said this. You were looking for how to put ingredients together, how to conceptualize it, add flavor, and how to plate it up. So did this give you what you were looking for? 3 different ways with those ingredients? I see other students. Okay, great.
Yes, it did.
So you're looking to continue this, right?
I would love to continue this. So
Okay.
with wanting to continue this, right now I'm asking for 3 people to come forward for April's challenge.
Do we have any volunteers? I did see a little smack talk written in the chat, and I'm just gonna say, if you feel like things were taught, maybe.
I have Nicholas.
Someone knows what I'm talking about.
So I can put you down, Nicholas, as one.
Awesome.
I'll do it if you can hear me.
I'll do it. Pefley does it.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Rashida, did you go to the Charlie Geip School of Volunteering, everybody?
No.
But I just heard Chef Arnold's willing to do it. If Chef Pefley will do it.
Pefley does.
Anna Smith pipe in there too.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right.
Okay.
That is solid. Thank you all. This is exciting. Again, I thought this was a great way to showcase a lot of education.
Just so you know, Chef Cher has set the bar very high for pastry chefs.
Yes, she has. Very awesome. Thank you all so much. We appreciate that. And one of our volunteers is up next. So before I introduce our membership minute, or getting to know our membership one more time, thank you so very much to Chefs Goling, Harris, and Harris. We really appreciate all of you taking on this challenge. And really, it looked like had a good time with it, and so much went to these students and that are here now, and we'll see it in the video that's recorded. So thank you all so much. That was great. And this is
it was a lot of fun, Autumn. Thank
Yes.
you, and Philip, thank you for joining us from across the other side of the world. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Pal.
you.
Thank you. You bet.
Thank you.
awesome. And I'm looking forward to hearing what April has in store. Thank you all again. Speaking of which, so getting to know our membership a little bit. And tonight we have our Chef of the Year from last year of the chapter, as well as our chef that is working with the apprentices directly at the Hotel Hershey. Chef Nicholas Arnold, the executive chef of the Hotel Hershey, is joining us tonight to give us a little info about him. And what I provided in a quick snapshot was, here's some talking points, some things students are looking to hear. How'd you get started? What's your passion? Really, we want to hear about you, your story, and anything you'd like to share to let us know a little bit more about you, hopefully in about 10 to 15 minutes so that we can get to know a good bit about you.
Oh, okay. I thought you said about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. If you guys have that much time, that would be.
We started talking coffee.
No, absolutely. Well, my name's Nicholas, and I'm the executive chef of the Hotel Hershey. And I got into cooking probably as the lack of having great food at home. My mom was the best cook, a great baker, however, and we had a very strict diet as kids. No lactose, no cheese, no ice cream. In fact, I often say that my first taste of ice cream was at the age of 13, and have a great passion for eating lots of it and having it lots in the freezer at all times. I think one of my first jobs was working at a diner in my hometown, and was able to work at some great places with a lot of great people. Some of the hotels I've worked at is Keneal Bay Resort multiple times, the Broadmoor Hotel, and then the American Club in Kohler, Wisconsin. I've also worked in the private industry, working for the Kohler family, the Hunt Hill Oil family, and the Wexner family as well. And then most recently worked at the Columbia Country Club in the Chevy Chase area in Washington, D.C. How I got started, like I said, I think just working and trying to work for great people, and back at a time where you really didn't know who to work for. Certainly in the middle of Wisconsin, I grew up in a town maybe 5,000 to 6,000 people strong, so a portion of Palmyra. I think back then there wasn't really the internet. There wasn't, I didn't know about the Culinary Institute of America. So I think how I got started was really searching for how one becomes a chef. And it was more interesting to kind of go along that path for me than most. And I guess I was really never satisfied. And so I got to work at this great place again called the American Club in Kohler, Wisconsin, where I met one of my mentors, Reese Lewis. And the American Club is a 5-diamond, 5-star resort. And so from a kid that just came from a small town to be working in this awesome hotel and trying all this great food that all these folks from the CIA were making, it was hard to keep me out of there. So I would come in early, stay late, work off the clock just to really learn anything that I could from anybody. I did go to culinary school, but never made a butter sauce, never made a glace de viande, never made a veal stock at my school. As we were kind of doing a lot of feeding for cafeteria students at that time for the school. So going out and having to search for, how do you become a chef and how do you cook with great ingredients was kind of what I did. And I thought the American Club was a great break. I started doing a lot of ice carving then in garde-manger. And I then again got to go to the Virgin Islands at the age of 22 and 23 and practice my craft there. And so I've worked a couple different places, obviously Colorado, Ohio, the Virgin Islands. People often ask me, how did I become interested in the Hotel Hershey? Well, being kind of in the same historic hotel setting that the American Club is, I had heard about it a long time ago from another mentor named Tom Schodler, who I believe, Brian Peffley knows quite well, as he might have been in the kitchens at the Hotel Hershey at the same time that him and Chef Hines would work together. So very small world we all live in, and he's still a great mentor to me today. And he would always talk about this butcher by the name of Mike Fauner, and he would talk about all of his sayings and all of these great things, all to the point that when I came to the Hotel Hershey and did my cooking tasting, and I hadn't had the settings right on the vacuum sealer, I had actually exploded buttermilk all over Mike Fauner's vacuum sealer. And I can remember spending about an hour making sure I cleaned that up. And if funny enough, I've met Mike now at the Hotel Hershey on one of my first days, and one of the kindest guys you'll ever meet. And we know a lot of the same things, and it really makes you feel like at home when you're at work. A couple of questions that are on here. What did you struggle with as a young chef? I think the biggest thing was understanding how you became one, and then really getting a break. And I think I I think I became, and I think I had a habit of forcing myself onto people and just showing up off the clock just to learn, and it just kept coming back for the knowledge. How did I get into this point in my career? I suppose the same way as you get to Carnegie Hall. I think just a lot of hard work, like all of you have put in and everybody puts in just to get where they want. And I guess just not ever being so easily satisfied. What do I love the most about being a chef? I think, being able to eat whatever you want. I still think back to even when I was a kid and had all those different dietary things that I would think about being able to eat as much pizza or grilled cheese. And I think, like all of us, I have a great love of junk food as well as I do with just regular great cuisine. So being able to try a sauce or a soup or something that really tastes well is certainly the better part of my day. But as Chef Cher would know, I'm also a big fan of donuts. So, those tend to get in the way of other foods as well. My favorite dish to make is still always going to be something centered around donuts, mac and cheese, ice cream, something that is just very common, and how to make it, better, or how to take how to make something up with them. I think we're working on an ice cream filled donut right now. So we'll see how that turns out. Let's see, what are current trends that we see in the industry? It's funny because living in Pennsylvania, you're in a bit of a bubble. So you can see kind of things that maybe were a trend in New York, maybe 6 months ago to 3 years ago, or out west. So you can kind of see things coming at you. And so I think the people's palates could be ripe here to be able to see and enjoy different things. But I certainly think people always eat with their eyes. I know since the pandemic, we've noticed that the check average has gone up, and comfort foods, things like mac and cheese and anything with bread, anything with a lot of carbs, people love it. And they're willing to pay extra money because they don't go out as often. And so that's been a trend. And I think that's going to become even a bigger trend, knowing that we're going up to 75%. But I think when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've just been absolutely so honored to be cooking. And to keep being a chef and being able to contribute at whatever level that I can, whether it's teaching coworkers, learning from coworkers, or helping to kind of give back, to apprentices and teaching others. But I certainly wouldn't be here without people that really invested a lot of time with me. Certainly people that had patience for me, and a lot of my questions and how I learned a lot of times. But I would not be here with all my mentors, and so I owe a great deal of gratitude to them. So that's me. And like I said, come and see us at the Hotel Hershey if you want to see what we do, or if you want to join our team. But that's all.
Well, thank you, Chef. That was awesome. And I would like to ask one question that's on that list that I know is extremely important to the students. What would be your number one piece of advice you would give to students right now aspiring to be chefs?
My gosh, just keep asking a ton of questions. And what I say at work all the time, make a new mistake. Make a mistake every day, just make a new one. And take responsibility for your learning, because no one ever is going to tackle you from behind to learn. If you want to be a chef, just do what 98% of the other people aren't doing in the room. It's simple and it's easy. And that's really all you have to do.
Great advice, certainly. And one question from Renee, what's the secret to the potato chips?
Which potato chips?
You can unmute Renee and ask.
The ones from the circular with that French onion, homemade French onion dip. Oh my God, they're like insane.
Oh, are you talking about the really tall one that we would do?
Yes.
Well, the duck fat really, so that comes from some of the rendered duck fat that we had done from our Black River duck. So that was great. But really all it is like the most simple recipe in the world. And it's like, I think it's half sour cream, half mayonnaise, caramelized onion, and Tabasco and Worcestershire. Something just like, it's just really silly and ridiculous. I'd be happy to send you the recipe if you'd like.
To get the potato chips long like that, are you using like a zoodler? Is that how you're shaving them? How are you getting them? Because they're wide.
I've never heard of a zoodler, but that's going to be my question. No, it's like one of the sheeters. It's called I think it's from Xylus, and I think you can buy it on JV Prints. So it's just a sheeter like you would use a Japanese mandolin, and it can sheet cantaloupe and potato and all these different. It looks like we might have a paid advertisement too. So yeah, that's one that'll kind of do the some curls, but then there's one that's like a sheeter and it comes all the way out. And so with that, we just kind of shape it as we're frying it. So each one's kind of its own work of art, I suppose.
I was gonna say, you have to like press them, keep them pressed so they don't curl up or blow up.
With a lot of apprentices, so that's actually why they don't have their portal done. Is it takes 3 of them about an hour to keep that in the fryer at that temperature for about an hour. No, you just have to kind of hold it in one space for a little bit, and you're never going to sell more than 12 or 13 in a night. So, but it is a good conversation piece.
Well, you should sell a lot more because they are amazing.
We're just finishing up the menu. I might put it right back on the menu if it has a good following.
Maybe you can incorporate into your dish in April. Maybe there'll be some ingredient to, you know.
Well, Pefley's going down.
Here we go.
And then,
Here we go. It's
Anna
starting.
Smith also, that was the other one? Sorry, you keep moving around on the screen.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I said it's Anna Smith, myself, and Brian Pefley, right?
Yes, yeah.
Great, awesome.
Definitely. Great. Well, thank you, Chef, very much. And certainly,
My money's on Anna.
Yeah, I think we're both going that way.
I know who her instructor was. I was just one of many. But yes, I think this will be a great, and again, you all have different backgrounds, you have different, flavor profiles. I think that would be excellent. So thank you so much, Chef, for giving us some insight onto you and certainly for everyone to learn a little bit more. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on then, we just have a few more items on our agenda, and that's where we wanted to put the bulk in the beginning, but we still have a few items that we want to talk about. For Renee, I know you are working on the new website under development and your photo contest. Can you touch base with us quickly about that, please?
Yes, I'm hoping that the new website will be up and running by April 1st. We'll have to test it out and see. So we'll need to work out any bugs and fine tuning and so forth. But hopefully April 1st, we'll be able to unveil that to everybody. As far as the contest, well, it's kind of a non-event because nobody's done anything yet. I haven't received anything. I did get an email.
Explain what you wanted.
Well, in the last meeting, what I really want is a picture, or if you want to do more than one picture, that's fine. Something that you feel represents our chapter in a photograph. That could be, I'm kind of leaving it open because I think that it's up for you're all in many ways artists. Being a chef is partially being an artist, I think. You have lots of creativity. It could be a picture of a dish. It could be a picture of a group of chefs. It could be a chef doing a community event. I'm giving you, maybe that's the problem. I'm not giving you enough.
I sent you 2 photos.
Well, yes, and I do have, well, you know what? They weren't posted to the event page, so I wasn't sure if you were entering them for that or not. So that I apologize then. I'll make sure I have them so I take it back. I do have 2 entries. So there is an event page on Facebook that you can post those photos to, or you can email me. If you do or text me, just let me know for sure that that's what they're for, because I'm getting pictures for the website, just general pictures too. So if it's for the contest, just let me know that. But in any case, I would like to encourage everybody to do that. Some of them maybe your dish. If you have restaurant, whatever you think could, just think outside the box. Be creative. And but that's really it. That's where we're at the moment. We're continuing to see an increase in social media traffic. I think that trying to post on a regular basis is getting better. And I know that, Brian's been helping out. I know he's been posting some things for me on Facebook too, which has been great. It's a big help. So thank you to everybody that has helped out. And we're just going to keep trying to keep everybody informed of what's going on and stay on top of social media.
Great. Thank you. So our next chapter meeting, expect to see a full unveiling of the website. So hopefully it's up running beginning of April, but certainly in our next meeting, we'll have that on the agenda there. Thank you for all the hard work there, Renee. Certainly, I know there's a lot being put into that. Anna, any update on our education for the next couple months?
I got Chef
Harris got a hold of me and confirmed that we are going to be doing the tour, the virtual tour of Hershey, of the park, of their new locations, the ice cream place and everything. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. And I did reach out to Distillery to possibly do a virtual tour there. And then again, August, Chef Jason is going to do sous videing, and I'll take some of those fermenting and the ghost kitchen. I've never heard of a ghost kitchen, so I can look into that and see what's going on around in this area, or maybe in Philly or something, and see what is going on and maybe do something with that.
And
that's what I have.
Also talked about, we're hoping to get back in person. So
yes, that's another reason I haven't filled all the slots of this year, because I don't know what
because now having Chef Clark set up for August, which is great with sous vide, and again, he's looking to get sous vide machines donated to give out, and I think that's awesome. But we're hoping to maybe get together. So at that point, anyone else we're booking in the future, we want to make sure that we can hopefully go to that location as well. So I know that's a discussion, just so that everyone's aware. It's not that we're not booking out the year, it's because we're waiting to see and making sure we can adjust, and get into a location, get back together. And that's really what our goal is. But we realize the next few months still Zoom. So that's why we've set up for these. And then, like I said, June, hopefully we can all get together in person at Hershey Park. And that's still the plan as of now. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. And again, excellent presentation today. As much as I already knew about coffee, I did not know that much about coffee. And her passion, her enthusiasm, I mean, just someone great. It was great to meet her, and it's great to know that there's individuals out there. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and I went to her location, and I tried some of her coffee with the maple syrup. Never thought to sweeten coffee with maple syrup. It was delicious.
I over dinner, because we do like espresso martinis, I mentioned that. I said, she sweetened it with maple syrup, and my husband said, oh, I got to try that. Just something different. And again, a local ingredient from Somerset County. So that's great. Thank you again. I appreciate it. All right, at this point, does anyone else have any committee reports? I received a lot of no report. I know from Chef Roebuck, I did get information about the American Academy of Chefs dinner. There are several inductees, and we will include that information in the mise en place. Does anyone else have any committee reports to include? Unmuting time. Okay. Then moving on to other old business. I did mention the Prla webinar, where Hope Sterner had reached out to us, hoping that we can join, collaborate, and put together a webinar hopefully in April. She surveyed all the schools, all the students. They came up with the interested topics that they're learning or looking to learn about is certainly the new trends, the new technology that's being used, the certification paths, recipe demonstrations, virtual tours. I'm like, check. I feel like we're doing so much of that. So obviously I opened up our meetings. Please include that. But one thing that she thought maybe to center on was a career opportunities panel, that we can get together several of our members to present opportunities to students as you're going through this, which I think is really important right now. They're looking at an industry that is not thriving, and to let them know those opportunities that are going to be out there. I think that it's going to be an important topic. So more to come on this, but if you are interested in being a part of this panel, inserting your hat into the ring, certainly please reach out. And as I develop more information, I'll reach out to you as well. At this point, we have no date in mind other than it would be great to have something in April. If the longer time goes on, then maybe we're looking at something in May. Again, nothing has been set in stone. At this point, we're still in the brainstorming stage. All right. At this point, does anyone else have any other old business to bring to the meeting? Okay, allowing unmuting time. How about any new business? No one? Okay, so as anticipating, the bulk of our meeting was certainly all of the, meeting our members, getting to hear about this challenge. I hope everyone that joined us, thank you very much for joining us, and hope this gave you a little insight as to what our chapter is about. Certainly, again, we're trying to be as involved and engaging on Zoom as we can until we can get back in the community and be doing things in person. So I thank you all for joining us. If anyone has anything else to add, please feel free to pipe in. Otherwise, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second. Okay, anybody?
All right, all those in favor of ending the meeting, please say aye, raise your hand or thumbs up. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Have a great evening, everyone. It was great to see you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
See you
Be
later.
safe.